Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Sean, sometimes known as the Beast, and I thought I'd do another throwback video to some of my earlier purchases that were in the collection. For many years I considered thrash to be my main genre, for decades to be fair. So what I thought I'd do is I'd show 6 albums, and I believe these were the first 6 thrash records I ever bought. There might be a couple I've got mixed up, and but it was a long time ago when I started buying thrash metal. So yeah, I think there or thereabouts. First off, and as always, thank you very much to the new subscribers. If it's the first time watching one of my videos, welcome. Hopefully you find something of interest you've maybe never heard of before. I would think most of these will be on people's radars. There's nothing too out of the ordinary. So anyway, let's make a start. Now, the first thrash album I ever heard and consequently bought was still one of my favourite thrash albums of all time, and that is Anthrax, and they're rather splendid, Among the Living. Now, this came out in 1987 on Island Records. Obviously Anthrax are from New York, considered part of the Big Four, which to me was more just a sort of a media gimmick, selling point type thing. Now, this album for me still gets played regularly. There's not really a bad song on it, in my opinion. I would say probably 70 or 80% of what's on here still makes up their live sets when they play, because they're just classic thrash metal tracks. The thing with Anthrax for me was, I remember hearing, I think it was probably Kill 'Em All by Metallica, and I didn't quite understand it. Whereas when I first heard this, that little bit of groove, would you say? That sort of made me think, yeah, I'm more on board with that. That's more my speed at the time. So this is an OG from, I say, 1987, with the obligatory Lads Laid Out and the lyrics on that side, and somewhere down here there's a big massive T stain, which is a naughty thing. Obviously they're only on black vinyl, but this has been played and played and better played, to the point now where I don't really play it very often. I've got the CDs, so I either play the CDs or occasionally I'll still give the crackly spit wax a spin. But yeah, I say it was an album that it was so different to Motorhead, to Iron Maiden, to Saxon, to Diamond Head. It was something a bit more aggressive, but not over the top aggressive, or certainly not for my ears at that time. So first one I ever bought was Anthrax and Among the Living. Now, the next one, I heard this album, a friend brought it around probably on cassette, and I was like, yeah, I like that. Slightly bit different to Anthrax, but not too far different. And the more I listened to it, the more I realised, yeah, that this thrash thing is going in the right direction for me. This is Exodus and Pleasures of the Flesh. This came out on Music for Nations. I think it was under license to somebody, wasn't it? Yeah, I can't find it. But, Combat Records. That's it. This was 1987, and this was actually their second full length. And obviously Exodus from San Francisco. For me, this is when Sousa sounded at his best, and you know, again, it's that when a record for some reason finds its way into your psyche. Like, it's certainly not the best record, not by any means, but it was my introduction to them, and it's an album that the earlier ones are still always the ones I'm more tempted to go back to when I'm in the mood for listening to Exodus. To be honest, probably most of these are. But yeah, it was something slightly different, had a bit more edge, a bit more aggression than the Anthrax one. But obviously we had the guys in the band and the thank yous and such like. The lyrics on that side. The oh, this looks tatty now. The Patrick Swayze inners. But again, this is an album that it worked its way into my brain pretty soon after hearing it initially. Fortunate enough to find it in a local record shop, which, living where I live back in the day, it was rarer than unicorn spunk to find something decent without having to trawl for miles and miles or paying ridiculous prices. But yeah, it's still one of my old school favourites. I say it's not actually the best work, but it's an album that gets spun still 3 or 4 times a year, I would think. Maybe a bit more than that, to be honest, but just depends what mood I'm in. So that's Exodus and Pleasures of the Flesh from 1987. Now the next one, when I first heard this, I was instantly hooked and completely blown away and thought, well, it can't get any better than that. And to be honest, I would say this is in my top 5 thrash albums of all time, even to this day. It is Nuclear Assault and their Handle with Care. This was their 3rd full length. Nuclear Assault, again, are a band from New York. Hearing Dan Lilker on this, and the way his bass is so powerful and driving and just absolutely all the way through, matched with John Connolly's vocals, and I was just like, fuck me, this is a savage record. When did it come out? 89 on Under One Flag. But to me, this is, if somebody said to me, you know, what's the first thrash album I should listen to, I've never ever listened to one before, I would say this wouldn't be a bad starting point. You know, obviously there's a lot of classic thrash albums. This is, I don't know if it's got maybe that sort of that hardcore punk DIY ethos behind it, but first time I'd ever seen what is now the obligatory thrash collage. Lyrics again on that side, and the wax, as I say, they're all black. This is scuffed to shit, this, because he's had his bollocks blade off it time and time again. But yeah, once I heard this and then finally managed to track it down and get a proper copy of it, because I am that old, I was still around for like the tape trading days and stuff like that. So you maybe hear it and it's been copied 10 times before you got a copy. But yeah, this holds a massive special place in my I was going to say my thrash collection, but I would say my music collection in general. It's just absolutely sublime. It's a 10 out of 10 album for me. You know, it's just one of those that you can play it and you never ever tire of playing it. And it comes out of the records, out of the shelves, probably more often than the rest of them. So that's Nuclear Assault and Handle with Care from 1989. Brilliant album. Now, whereas Nuclear Assault gripped me by the throat and smashed my face in, this next one gave me sort of a psychopathic hug just how amazing the musicianship was on it. Not that there's anything not amazing about the other ones I've shown, but when I heard this, it changed my whole perspective on music in general. This is Testament and the New Order. This is their second full length. Testament from Oakland. This is out on Megaforce, and hearing the guitar work on this combined with Chuck Billy's voice, it was just something I'd never experienced before in thrash or in music in general. It's after hearing this, obviously I went back and listened to the Legacy, which, well, we'll talk about that another day, because that's, you could make a video about that by itself. But for me, this is when Testament became my favourite thrash band. If there is such a thing as the top four, or the big four, sorry, Testament would be in there any day of the week for me. I love Anthrax, I always will. I'll go and see them every time they play live in the UK. However, for me, Testament are far better, far more technical, better songwriters, better musicians, just a better band altogether. But unfortunately, they didn't seem to get the recognition of a lot of the bands that were around at that time. Again, in a sleeve we have the lyrics on that side. Now the gentleman looking rather mean and moody on that side. This is, again, I said they're all black backs, but it's nice to see the OGs in decent nick. Again, this one very rarely gets spun now. I play the CDs a lot more often, purely because I don't want to damage the vinyl. And I've committed the cardinal sin of trying to put it back in its sleeve on there, but never mind. But yeah, for me, there's not a bad song on it. I mean, I know they get some sticker, oh well, they did a ballad and stuff like that, and it doesn't bother me. Everything about this record is 10 out of 10. And then, like I said earlier, going back and listening to the Legacy, well, yeah, save that for another day. So that's Testament with their second full length, the New Order. Superb record. Now the next one is slightly different, and again, it's an album I heard. A friend brought it round on the cassette tape, and the cassette tape had probably had 15 albums taped on top of it, then taped over and recorded and taped over again, with a bit of sellotape over the tab so you could actually record it again. And when I heard it for the first time, I didn't really understand the way it started and such like. I was like, whoa, what's this? And then when the riffs kicked in and the music kicked in and the whole awesomeness of it, it blew me away. So this is Sabbath and A History of Time to Come. This came out in 1988 on Noise Records, and the thing that blew me away more than anything about this was the fact that these gentlemen are from Nottingham here in the UK. Now, I had no idea that an album this spectacular could be released by guys in the UK, which sounds very disrespectful to the musicians in the UK that didn't quite make it as big as this, but this is on a different level. This is thrash metal, grown up thrash metal. When you think of Anthrax and the baseball caps backwards and the Bermuda shorts and skateboarding and such like, this is a work of art. And again, this will easily go into my top 5 thrash albums of all time. I mean, the guitar work, well, everything about it, not just the guitar work, but everything about this is, it drags you along, and I can't listen to this just once and then put something else on. It has to get multiple spins on the day that you know, when I feel like listening to it, and I put it on, it'll get spun a minimum of 3 times, because it's just one of those albums that doesn't matter how many times you hear it, even after all these years. What did I say? 88 it came out. So even after 36 years, it's still just some little nuance or something that I've missed beforehand comes through, and it blows me away. Now the inner sleeve on this one, we've got the lyrics and the border, and then when you flip it round, this is all the when we used to be able to send for albums and it didn't cost you an arm and a leg for postage like it does now. Again, this is just on black wax. Doesn't look too bad, this one, to be fair, compared to some of them. So, but yeah, Sabat, they were a band that, again, they didn't really get the recognition they deserve, I don't think. Now obviously if you're a fan of thrash metal and you're of a certain vintage like I am, chances are you'll have heard it 1,000 times over. But if you're a younger person and you want to know what grown up thrash metal is, then I would highly recommend you get this a spin, because it is absolutely, yeah, it's a masterpiece. Absolutely stunning record. Right, well, if Sabat are grown up thrash metal, this next one is very much alcohol fueled thrash metal. The reason I bought this was the day I woke up, I'd been to I think it was possibly a Saxon gig. Went back to my mate's flat and we got absolutely smashed. There was a lot of us there. Waking up the next morning on the front room floor, it looked like Armageddon. It was there were bodies and bottles and everything. So I used to be able to recover from a hangover quite quickly. So I got up and walked into the town and went to the record shop. The gentleman behind the counter said, "Oh, I wonder if you'd be interested in this." And it was this one. It was Tankards, The Morning After. Now this was my first experience of Teutonic thrash metal. So they're always going to have a special place in my heart. Obviously Creator, Sodom, Destruction, absolute fantastic bands. But this was the first time I'd bought a record purely because of the cover. I'd never heard them before, and the cover reminded me of the scene at my mate's flat that I'd just left. Now on the back it's still got the old promotion only thing, and I probably paid something along the lines of £3, £4, something like that, because the shop I bought it in, the guy was he didn't really have a massive metal collection, selection, sorry, not collection. And walked in there and saw it and I was like, yeah. As soon as I got it home and put it on, I was like, yeah, there's something really funny about this. Obviously the lyrics are all daft, very childish almost, but nothing's changed, you know. How can you not like a song called Shitfaced when you absolutely still puddled and hanging out your arse from the night before? Absolutely brilliant record, brilliant band, to be fair. Tankard is up there with any of the others for me because of the novelty factor and the fact that they were singing about drinking beer and sex and shit. There's the unit. Lyrics on that side. Now obviously this was their third album, so I went back and discovered all the other stuff, and they're just one of those bands that, are they ever going to win a Grammy? You know, are they going to get inducted into the Heavy Metal Hall of Fame? Probably not. But even their poor albums, they can always bring a smile to your face if you're not into deep and meaningful lyrics and you know, it's just a fun record. They're just a fun band, and occasionally they get a little bit serious, but not very often. So that's it. That's my first, from memory, 6 thrash metal records I ever purchased. In the background, and something else to show you as well, I'm playing the Slowly We Rot compilation, volume 23. This has got a variety of different bands on. If you've never heard of Slowly We Rot, the zine, it's this one here. This is one I always, as soon as it comes out, I always pre-order it. Or sorry, as soon as the dates are available, I'll pre-order it, because it's absolutely brilliant. It's well written. It's got some cracking interviews. It's got, you know, there's not, you get some of them, it's all just adverts and such like, but this is really good. It's really well written, and they get a lot of underground bands in, and then obviously you get the CD that's applicable to what's on it, inside it as well. So that's it for this one. If you've stuck with me this long, thank you very much appreciated. I've quite enjoyed going back and listening to some of these. I think I've got a couple of videos planned with like more modern stuff, collection update type thing, but I will keep dipping the toe back into the collection every so often and doing some of these earlier ones. I just think it's nice. I mean, I started my YouTube channel to try and promote bands, and with me being so crazy about the underground death metal scene at the moment and grind and such like, it's nice to try and show them bands. That's the reason I do it. Now I understand that's not everybody's cup of tea, so I say I've enjoyed going back and re-listening to some of these, and same as the one I did a few weeks ago with the ladies of that used to rock my world all them years ago. So thank you very much to the new subscribers, as I've just said. Any of these you want to chat about, or anything maybe from back in that time that I've missed, because we can't listen to everything, it's impossible to buy everything, then please let me know in the comments. If any of it's been entertaining and you feel obliged to, not obliged, sorry, if you feel that it's worthy of a thumbs up, then please do so. And until the next one, and as always, cheers!